we have some news, man. Like that's pretty fun. That was, I think, like we could get right into the trade because I have to
Yeah,
imagine that's where we're gonna start. But
that's exactly where we're gonna start.
we need to like we're gonna go over this. Don't look at it too fast, guys. You have to learn in real time from us how everybody else learned in real time. All right. So first Jalen Ramsey's traded. All right. So Jalen Ramsey's
He
traded.
broke it himself. He said, I break my own news. I'm getting
Yeah,
traded. That's all
I'm getting
to the
traded.
Steelers. That's it.
And it was
Yeah.
like, and like 10 minutes go by, and Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio is like he does his column, and he like randomly tweets out, he's like, yeah, I wonder what the compensation is. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then Minka Fitzpatrick is traded for Jalen Ramsey, and it was a swap for a second.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Jonnu Smith was in the trade, and it was a 2027
Like
pick swap. So
20 minutes later.
over the course of a half hour, we get this trade. And Ben, I'll let you go first. Actually, I'll go over the money stuff, and
Yeah.
then like I'll go over the nerd money stuff. That kind of is the implication of these trades, because usually when you see multiple guys get moved, money goes around. So starting with Ramsey, he gets a 1.5 raise through the Steelers. He's extended already with the Dolphins through 2028. It becomes non-guaranteed after this season. If he's cut post June 1st next offseason, it would save the Steelers money. Jonnu Smith also gets a 1-year, $12 million extension. He was on the books for $4 million this year, so that puts him at a total of 2 for 16. And $12 million a year is kind of in like the Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet tier of like tight ends paid. So I know they paid a pretty good price for a good player on that extension. And then Minka goes back to Miami with a 2-year deal, non-guaranteed left, $15.5 million salary this year, $17.6 million in 2026, and cutting him outright before free agency next year would save them almost 11 million. And the same thing if he were traded at the deadline, I think that's a possibility. I think it saves a little less, like $6 million, but yeah, that's the money stuff, that's the nerd stuff. You go on, Ben.
Yeah. So in real time for those first 10 minutes where it was just Jalen Ramsey, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a good trade. I'm like, it doesn't really make any sense. I remember like explicitly texting, the two of y'all and being like, they're really going all in on this team and hoping Aaron Rodgers is going to be that guy with no backup plan because there's no one for them to fall back on. But I was like, okay, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Jalen Ramsey. You're getting a good corner, good for them. And then you see it was for Minka, and I was like, what? Which just made my head hurt even more. You're just swapping these players at this point for whatever, like, for no reason at this point. And then from the Dolphins standpoint of it all, I had again told you this, Matt. If you were gonna pay a safety $15 million,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't you just pay Javon Holland $15 million? Like, what was the point of bringing in at this point, going off of just last season, the worst safety for the same amount of money? It just didn't make any sense at all. And then the Jonnu Smith stuff came through, which like was also head scratching because they already have Pat Fryermuth, who they seem pretty happy with. I mean, Pat's not like an elite tight end or anything, but he's not bad. And then you're like, Arthur Smith, you dirty dog. Why can't you stay away from Jonnu Smith? Like, it was just weird. And then it left the Dolphins in a weird tight end situation, which we'll get into in just a second. But it was just, overall, it just seemed like these two teams were bored, in like the dead week, like week 4, 5, 6 of fantasy, when you're like, oh, this is boring. Let's make a trade.
Let's switch it up.
That's kind of what this felt like it was. It just didn't make much sense. But I mean, what was going through your head?
Going through my head in the moment, just like, what is happening? Why is this happening? Who cares? And then over the course of like the day, I took it in because it was before the NBA free agency. So I was already like NBA pilled, but no, this brought my attention back. And basically, I think the Steelers are just swapping out their center field post safety for a nickel who can tackle. That's kind of how I interpret this. Uh, Jalen's basically a 1 year rental. Like he's 3 years older than Minka. I would argue Ramsey's probably a better player at his specific position. I think but it's arguable. Like if this was
it's close.
just Minka, if this was just Minka for Jalen straight up, it would have been even more awkward to me because it would just be the Dolphins are trying to maneuver money around, and they just wanted to get rid of Jalen Ramsey because he's just not going to play for you. So let's go get someone who will play for us at a position of need. And the Steelers, like you said, they're pushing the chips in the middle of the table on Aaron Rodgers, who's 40. I don't know. I don't know what to think of this team. I don't. But then again, Robert Mays of the Athletic Show I listened to the next day. He made a good point where it's like the Steelers are doing all these moves, and like Aaron Rodgers 1 year deal, Darius Slay 1 year deal, and trading for Ramsey but giving up Minka. It's not really sacrificing their future because with the George Pickens trade, with Najee Harris, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson all being compensatory free agents, they could have 12 draft picks next season. So it doesn't stop them from getting the quarterback after Rodgers. It's just kind of pushing the chips in on the Rodgers team. So that kind of feels like a Rodgers like handshake deal where he's like, all right, I'll play for you guys. I'll be the quarterback, but you better go get me some help so I can go out, the way I want to go out, whether that's making the playoffs, whether that's, hosting a playoff game. I don't know. I don't think it's winning a Super Bowl. I think that's long, past for both parties, Steelers and Rodgers. But yeah, it's a weird trade. But when you look at it from that lens, for me, it's like, well, the Steelers just wanted a nickel who tackles, and they have the safeties to get rid of Minka and not feel the losses too heavily.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree. And I guess my issue with the Steelers, it wasn't much affected by this trade because, like you said, this doesn't really affect their future. But in the same light, they don't really have a plan to begin with. Obviously, this didn't affect. It's not like they had a plan and now this is all thrown out the window. They've never had a plan. It seems like they still don't have a plan. And I'm just worried what life post Aaron Rodgers is going to be. I mean, maybe they go out and sign another, 40-year-old quarterback.
I mean, get ready for the notification in March when the Steelers are interested in Kirk Cousins. Just get ready. Like I can say all these things and that like, oh, the Steelers are going to go through a reset because they have all these picks and they have they have flexibility. The Steelers are going to steal her. And I think if they can get a middle of the pack quarterback to win 9 games with, they're just going to keep doing it, even as infuriating as it has to be for Steelers. It's angry for me. So it's like, I can't imagine what Steelers fans are going through. And I'll stretch this into the part, but like Adam Schefter kind of lobbing that grenade in, like teams think TJ Watt is now available.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
1 year left on his deal. He hasn't been reporting. And could you imagine from like June 30th is when this trade happens. If they trade TJ Watt before the season, getting rid of Minka Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt, two of like the staples of the decade for this team for the Aaron Rodgers experiment. Like that's what they would essentially be doing if they traded TJ Watt. I don't think they're going to. I think TJ's waiting for the number. I think he's waiting for Micah to get paid so he can get paid more than Micah. That's my personal belief, but yeah. Your thoughts on TJ Watt?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get traded either. But partially is because I don't know what his trade value is going to like. I love TJ.
Mm-hmm.
He's 30 years old on the last year of his contract. So even if you choose to move on from TJ, you're not getting – I would be shocked if you get a first-round pick for him. And you don't move off of a guy like TJ Watt for nothing less than at least first at this point. So I'm with you there. I think TJ stays, but it was very weird that he was just like, well, now that this trade's gone through,
Yeah.
TJ Watt. So, but